Welcome back, and you're still tuned to the run-up, reaching you on Plus TV Africa. We're glad you're there, and now we're being joined by a security expert, in-house analyst, Augustine Agbe Ear. He's going to be telling us so many things, especially like Yambu said earlier on how to keep safe at this critical period. Welcome once again, Augustine Agbe Ear.
Thank you, sir. It's my pleasure.
Okay, Augustine.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Okay, some people see the security alerts issued by international community as being exaggerated, even though there are elements of truth. Well, how would you react to or respond to this? Is there too much exaggeration, or we should take it at face value and say whatever they're saying is true? Let's begin from there.
Thank you very much. I think whatever the international community is saying is credible. Owing to the fact that the nations that are really advising Nigeria, we need to look at their own background, where they are coming from. Have they been under threat? Have they faced some kind of threat in their past history? Of course, we know that the US, we can still remember of the Trade Center bombing, which really affected the global economy. We are also aware that US are on top of security issues in terms of intelligence. They are among the top leading intelligence in the nation, including the UK. So if a nation is advising another nation, it's because that nation is part of the community of nations. Nigeria is not operating in isolation. It's part of the United Nations, and it's a part of the community of nations. So whatever advice that they're giving is because they are also stakeholders in the Nigerian economy. They have their investment, they have their people here. And so if they see a risk that will affect our nation, it is right that as partners in business, they should inform their partner that, look, you are at risk at this moment. Take appropriate measures.
There's been conversations around, our own security outfits. And of course, some persons in the government have come out to say that the international community are exaggerating. In any case, whatever the situation is, it's best to stay safe first before we begin to decide who is right and who is wrong. In your own words, in your own perspective, what do you think should be done at this time, to make sure that people are safe first off, going forward?
The best thing is like in all threat alert messages, there are certain levels of threat messages that you watch the indicators. And we must be aware that at this moment, a threat message or an alert message have been sent. I believe that Nigeria should take appropriate measures to safeguard the citizens and the economy first. It's not a time to ask questions. It's not a time to begin to argue about circumstances. There is a situation on ground. We should be aware that there must always be a handshake from the outside to the inside before a crime can take place. We don't know what they are seeing from the outside. And of course, they also have their men on ground here also monitoring things for them. So whatever they have seen, I believe we should take measures to protect us, to protect our citizens and the economy.
But what are these measures you're talking about? What are the measures that you think should be taken? Because we may not be seeing very visible measures being taken by the government. So it's either what should the government do that you think they're not doing, or what should the individuals do and not wait for government? And like I said, without necessarily having to carry guns.
First of all, you cannot save yourself unless you agree that you are under threat. The threat that have been identified is very clear. We have a terror attack. We have other crimes that are in the nation and in our states. So the first thing you will do to stay safe is to ensure that you don't go to those areas, especially for now. If it's a terror attack, there are key target areas like malls, huge gatherings. Now we have campaigns all over. So those gatherings should be discouraged. Of course, they will be there, but if you are there, you should take measures to protect yourself. Malls are places that are always target for terrorists. They also have market areas. They will always target areas that will have high impact, high casualties. So market malls and large gatherings should be avoided. These are the measures that we can take individually. In terms of on the government side, I think at this moment they should look for a way to de-escalate certain crises. There are certain crisis situations they have not really taken appropriate measures. They are incubating it. They are incubating violence. Some measures should be taken from their own end to ensure that they de-escalate certain crisis situations, so that those measures, those issues that can lead to crisis, don't come at all.
Today, in one of the newspapers, the federal government was informing states that it may be releasing some prisoners. The exact details were not, too clear. Maybe people who have almost completed their prison terms, or those details were not particularly clear. But given the security situation in the country at the moment, do you think this is something that should be happening now, or should be delayed? What will be your reaction?
It also depends on the law. Security is dependent on the law. We cannot operate outside the law. And we must always adhere to the law. If they have seen, because these criminals, they're always in the correction center. I know that even if a law has been passed or they have an approval to release some, I know there are some that they will never release. I'm certain about that, because the correctional officers are also trained to watch behaviors. And they know those who are very, very humble and who have been very steadfast in their service, who know that they will not come back and harm the citizens. So I'm sure that appropriate decisions have been made regarding that. And I'm sure that not all will still be released. The dangerous one will still be left somehow to continue or to stay permanently.
Mm-hmm. Okay, just something tied to that, because when you were speaking earlier, you said there has to be a handshake from the outside to the inside before security can be compromised. Can we transpose that into the domestic setting, our different houses now, or our homes? What should Nigerians be doing in safeguarding their homes?
Yeah.
Do you have any tips?
Of course. For your personal security, I think this moment, you should look at the kind of people that visit you. It has to go with your physical security. Your surrounding is the first thing. You have to observe your surroundings. What kind of risks are you bearing? Your fencing, your lighting system, your gates. Do you have a security guard? If you don't have a security guard, do you have a security dog that can also make some noise and wake you up in the night? Do you have alarm systems? Do you have CCTV cameras around you that could alert the neighbor or alert you whenever you're having problems? These are things you should take personally. As regards your family and children, we have so many issues of kidnapping. It is also important that you have certain devices that you can use to track family members. We have so many things on Google that you can use to track family members on their phones and even wristwatches. These things are very important, because we must always have our family members outside there going about their business. Husband is out, wife is out, and children are out to school. So we should have a means at which we track each other, and to see locations that our people or our loved ones are visiting. This will help us to keep touch. When something goes wrong, we should be able to tell the last location we're able to see or speak with our neighbors or our relatives. So that is one part. Information security is another key aspect. If you look at social media, I will call it a social media abuse or ignorance. You see certain individuals will put all of their life history on social media. Facebook, you see family, children, even their sitting rooms. They are all displayed on social media. That's a big risk for them, because an attacker don't need to know. They don't need to even ask more questions. They have profiled you and they already know that you have the means to pay for whatever they want to demand. And this should be discouraged. Don't put your children, don't put your wives, and begin to show your wealth on social media. It's not a place for you to show wealth. It's a place to just make some connect with friends that you've lost touch with. If you need to know or to talk more to your friends and families that you want them to know more about your family, I think there should be a private way of communicating, not on social media. What is on social media is a kind of telling the whole world who you are, the kind of cars you have, the kind of vehicles, the kind of house, the lifestyle that you're living now. And that is a very big disadvantage to your family. It's a risk and a threat to your family.
Okay, the general election is just a few months away. In fact, it's a matter of days right now, and security issues are always heightened at this time. In your perspective, is the federal government doing enough to secure the people, at least for this moment leading up to the election and then immediately after? If they are not, what are the things that need to be put in place to make sure that at least the people are secured a little bit more than they are secured now?
I think the federal government, when it comes to the internal security, I always say that they're doing their best. I am also in the field, and I can't say they're not doing enough. I interact with a lot of them in the intelligence, the military, and all that. We work together. We share information. I know that they're doing their best. There are things that actually most times are beyond you because there's a command and control structure. You have to always wait for the command. But I know that we've had experiences of election in the past. And when Nigeria is even helping certain nations to conduct and to stabilize their political system, they are doing what they can do. In the Jonathan election in 2015, we saw how the North was in a very difficult state. But within 2 weeks, we saw how former President Jonathan took some decisive steps, and people were able to come out and vote in that area, in the region, in that northeast region. So I believe they are doing enough, but I cannot say it's enough. I still want them to do more. Reorientation. They need to orientate people that will be directly involved in this election process. The youth corps or whosoever that will be the delegates. They need to be orientated on security. They need to receive some training, some basic training on how to stay safe. And those who will go to the election points, they should know that we already have an alert. We already have a terror warning alert from the international community. That means that go and vote and leave. If you need to be, always avoid a huge gathering. Avoid violence within that area. And of course, we know that police will be deployed. All the law enforcement will be deployed in those points. I believe that people should be adherent to the law and order of those areas, the polling booths.
We will have to let you go, Mr. Ega, for now, because we know that we'll still have security issues that would like to have your inputs in. Would like to thank you for coming on the show this morning.
Thank you, Jambu. Thank you, everyone, for giving me the opportunity to speak with you.
Thank you. Okay, we're talking with security expert, Augustine Agbe. It scared me. Don't go to malls, don't go to markets, don't go. I was just thinking, don't go to mall, no Gary. Don't go to market, no Gary. You know? There's nothing I'm going to. How will you survive? You see, it's a very difficult situation when you find yourself in a place where there's security threats. You seem to have sold or to have your freedom taken away from you, and everything is tied to security. I just hope, like he said, the government is doing a lot. They can do just a little bit more than what they're doing here.
I share your concerns. I think what Mr. Ega also was putting across is, of course, people will have to go to malls. It's just highlighting that, this is an area which is prone to being attacked. And therefore, if anyone goes there, anyone has to go there, be very conscious. Be very security conscious, and if you can avoid going there and you can get something elsewhere that is not as crowded, then get it from there. But otherwise, if you have to go to a mosque, be very conscious. And yes, I agree with him as well that the authorities are doing a lot, we need to recognize certain things, that there's certain things we don't have. And then how are we going to get there? Maybe after the next election. For instance, our borders are porous. We've always said this again and again. And to show, I'm not defending, the state of the borders. I'm only just trying to highlight how challenging it could be if we don't resolutely address it.
Yeah.
Even the US, You see they have problems with Mexicans and other people crossing the border. So, but all said and done, you know, we just need to be conscious, you know, of our security and not behave as if everything is normal.
Okay, take charge of your own security because it begins with you. It's like governance. They say we are the government. So security is our collective responsibility. You see something, you say something. We'll take a break now. After now, we're going to have the news. And then when we return, we continue the gist. Stay with us.